Okay, family, it's Tasha MAMABEAR Prepping. Welcome to the channel. Welcome back to the channel where we just talk about emergency preparedness. We talk about what me and my family do. Hopefully that sparks and gives you ideas to help you with your journey as far as self-sufficiency, taking care of yourselves, and being ready for any kind of emergency that might come your guys' way. Now, get your drink, pull up. We're going to talk about it today. We're going to talk about something that is not really talked about a lot within our community. We talk about this on the surface very loosely, like, hey, you're going to need to do these things. Hey, don't do these things. But I want to dive a little bit deeper. And this is something that preppers themselves are going to fail at. This is something that you work so hard to prepare, to stockpile the best of the stockpilers, right? You're ready to go. You've got contingency plans. You've got emergency plans. You're ready, right? And you're locked and loaded. But the problem is that you are going to have to blend in with the rest of the world to be able to survive and keep this story going that you are struggling as well. Now, we talk about this. Oh, we'll ration, right? We'll ration so that we, can be losing weight as well. We will, the dangers of cooking outside and folks starving, and you are cooking outside and folks smelling that. And how do you get around cooking without people around you that are literally starving, that could smell food from a mile away, right? And so how do you do that? How do you cook food? How do you, and the channels talk about this all the time, like, oh, well, you cook outside, you don't cook with any seasonings, don't cook with any salt or seasonings or anything like that. Make sure you do that afterwards. Some people will say, just cook inside, it's no big deal. Just, make sure it's ventilated for whatever way that you are cooking, right? Whichever cooking process. But some cooking processes absolutely cannot be done inside. They are absolutely zero safety in cooking inside. And some stuff is kind of in the gray area. It could become dangerous. But if you do have enough ventilation, you should be okay with cooking inside in these ways, okay? So there's a lot of surface things that we talk about, okay? But the reality of it is that folks around you are going to be starving literally to death. And the more time that goes by, that first 2 weeks, that 30 days, that 60 days, that 90 days, people are getting worse and worse and worse. And you're literally watching people die. They are dying, okay? Because they do not have food. They do not have enough food. And their bodies are going to be withering away. So the average person, everybody walking around, nobody's walking around fat, jolly, full. Everybody's going to be a weak nature. Maybe you're in a town that has some kind of system set up where the people that are working, that are patrolling, that are protecting the town, protecting the people, they're getting extra rations. So they're a little bit more robust because they're doing things, right? Physical activities that need nourishment, need carbs, need that stuff, right? Maybe, okay, but it's going to come down to food, and it's only going to last so long. And at the beginning, yeah, you have this wave of people that immediately are not ready and do not have food and are immediately in a panic and in an immediate need for assistance, need for help. They're going to be looking for food right away, but that's not the danger zone. The danger zone is when you get past the 2 weeks and you're getting into a month, you're getting to 60 days. People are literally starting to starve to death that don't have food. Or maybe they had a little bit of food, but that starts to go away. And this doesn't matter. This doesn't matter if you're the type that's like, well, we're not going to be part of a group. We're not going to be part of the town. We're not going to be part of any kind of ration systems and food systems. We're going to be taking care of ourselves. That's why we stockpile. But good luck, because you are going to have to hide. You're going to have to ensure that nobody is seeing you, okay? Because it only takes one person to see you that you are eating. And again, people are like, well, we'll ration. We'll ration so that we don't look like we're eating. I don't know about you, but I'm a big girl, right? I'm thick. I'm not skinny, okay? I clearly look like I eat every day, all of that stuff. Do you know that there's oftentimes that I'm not eating a lot of food, okay? There's oftentimes that, things happen, I'm busy, whatever. My body doesn't just let that go. Matter of fact, when you starve yourself or you don't eat or you're on a diet or whatever is happening in your life that's making you not eat as much, that's bad because your body actually hangs on to that fat and wants to keep it. And so at first that will happen, but then at some point your body gives up and it just is going to try to keep fighting, but it's going to be losing at the battle. Okay. And people are going to have sunken eyes, and weight is going to drop off them and in different areas. And they're going to look very, very weak. And even the people that maybe are getting a little bit more food because they're doing a job, a strenuous job for a group of people or whoever, and that decision's been made, even those folks are going to be hurting, because this is not going to be some extravagant ration extra that they're getting. Okay. And even if you guys are out of the cut, you guys, we're rural. We're stockpiled. We're good. We're going to ration so that we're not really fat and jolly. But even a half ration, you may be looking 10 times healthier and better and more fit than somebody else. A third of the ration, you might still be looking much, much better than the majority of people. And that's a problem, right? And you may say, well, we have no intention of going into town. We have no intention of asking people, talking to people, but it only takes, people are going to be going out and looking for food, scavenging, intel. They're going to be watching you. You might live in a rural area and somebody is watching you to see how many people are there. What do you guys look like? What do you have? Wow, they really have a lot of energy to do a lot of chores and a lot of work, and they've got animals and they're taking care of those animals, and obviously they have those animals to eat because they are looking pretty good, right? On the surface on this channel and other channels, people talk about very loosely, like, well, I'll be in the food lines with them. I'll blend with the people. I'll make it look like I'm struggling just like them. And that's a fine line, okay? Because again, now you're taking food from somebody else, food that you do not need. And so, there's an ethical line there, whether you want to cross that or not. Do you want to appear like you're starving and then take food from somebody, or, just to fit in and not put a target on your back? Or do you want to just try to stay in the cut, not let people see you, feed? Maybe the decision will be made that obviously parents are going to possibly a lot of times be eating less than their children, just because of that natural, you want to take care of your child and you want your children to live. And so folks and parents are going to be making decisions for children and maybe giving children more food and taking away from their own rations and giving them the food. So maybe you can have that appearance still that you are starving, because you are starving because you're literally trying to feed your children and kept your children safe. But this all comes down to that whole dynamic of, where are you located at? Where are you at? Are you in the middle of the city? Like, you can't hide this for that long. You can't hide from the people for that long, right? If you're dead center with some stuff, right? And so the hardest thing for preppers to do is, one, you talk about rationing, but do you know how hard rationing is? And listen, it's one thing when I say ration, and that just means, okay, we're just going to cut back. We're not going to have as much. We're going to use smaller plates. We're going to use bowls. We're going to, whatever it is that the game plan is, right? But when you really start rationing, I'm talking like for real rationing, like one piece of meat is the whole family, right? Everybody's getting like a bite of a piece of meat, right? You're rationing for real. And this is going to be hard mentally for preppers because, one, you're going to have that mindset, well, I prepared for this. I prepared so that we wouldn't have to do this. I prepared so that we would be able to continue to eat. And I don't care about the rest of the world starving to death, because this is what I did for me and my family. And that is the mentality. Also, the mentality may be a confidence that you have enough. Oh, I have enough. We don't need to ration, or we only need to half ration because we have enough food. I have 2 years worth of food here. We're fine, right? And an event is a forever ending event. It's forever, right? There's no 2 years and it's coming back, right? Oh, I just have to weather through something and life is coming back as normal. It's never coming back. First of all, when something major happens like that, it's never coming back in the glory or the way that it was before we entered it, ever. Okay. And that's even if government comes back, some sort of restoration, it doesn't matter. Okay. It's never coming back the same way. And so you just have to think about what's your game plan, where's your location, how are you going to do things? Because in your mind, you might have this romantic notion of like, well, we'll just ration, or we'll just get in line with them. And you have to think that through on exactly what does that mean, okay? In that book, 1 Second After, they actually had the town and they actually had some sort of system where they were feeding each other and they were taking care of each other. And they had systems though, like basically if you wanted to get on the ration system, you had to, you know, agree to have your house searched for food. And basically if you had food, you couldn't be part of the ration system, right? But that ration system, I mean, those folks were starving and they were slowly starving to death. People were dying every day, dying off slowly. Eventually, as time went on, they had less food, but people were dying, but still, you know, and they got to a point where it mentions in the book one time, they get to the point where they have so much, they have more food and more of abundance of food because so many people have died off from starving. And eventually it's like the numbers reverse themselves, but it's just, it's not good, right? And to just also be on the fence and say, well, we'll never let people see us. We'll live our life. That's the whole point. We'll protect what we've stockpiled. We'll protect our land. We won't let people see us. But it only takes one person to see you from afar. They don't even have to let you know they're there. They're just watching. They take that bit of information back. I saw this farm. There's people out there working. I seen people milking a goat. I seen animals. I seen these people looked pretty jolly. They looked pretty. And you don't even have to look jolly. These people just look like they're eating in general, like not sunken eyes, looked like they had some kind of nourishment. Yes, they had a garden, but you know, wow, they really look like they're doing it. And then the game plan becomes they tell the wrong person. Maybe that person had good intentions. It doesn't matter. It's bad news all around. It only takes one, okay? So it's gonna be hard. Let's talk about cooking. Somebody asked me the other day, can you talk about cooking and how to be safe with cooking? You know, when people are starving, again, this gets worse and worse as time goes by because you have people are starving, that group of people, that first wave don't have any food. So immediately that group of people are dangerous, right? But as you move forward, people start to die. 30 days in, 60 days in, 90 days in, people start to die of starvation. They cannot find food and they start to die. And it gets more dangerous. And hunting, people are like, oh, we'll just hunt for our food. No, everything is gonna get killed, right? Forests are going to be wiped out. I don't care if you live by a forest, live by an area. You're like, I see bunny rabbits and I see all these animals come in my yard. That stuff is going to be wiped out within 6 months. That stuff's wiped out. Not to mention you have now animals that are left that are trying to, because you've literally depleted all of their food as well, right? You've depleted all the rabbits. Now the bear doesn't have something to eat or the whatever, right? And so this whole ecosystem is disturbed, okay? And there is no more hunting. It's sparse with the hunting. The animals that are left are in hiding and just trying to come out to find their own food. And they're battling starvation just like you're battling starvation, right? And so that becomes not an option quick, right? And then you have people that turn to, okay, well, who has animals? Who has livestock? Where are the cows? Where are the goats? Where are the pigs to be slaughtered? Where's all these things? Where are the horses next? Where's the dogs? Where's the cats? Like, it gets dangerous. And then you have people who even go as far as cannibalism and eating people, right? It gets nasty and evil, okay? As the time progresses, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And so when you talk about, well, I'll just cook outside, but I won't cook with seasoning. Do you know how crazy that sounds to think that you're going to cook a piece of beef sizzling over a fire and that the whole world is not going to be able to smell that? Take that wind. I mean, you can smell that from a mile away, 2 miles away, 10 miles away, 5 miles away, if the wind is right and it's just carrying that, right? That smoke from that fire is just carrying that out, okay? So it doesn't matter that you didn't put salt on it or you didn't put some seasoning on it. Everybody and their mother can smell that meat. Anybody, okay, close. Not to mention just humans, but now you have to think of threats of animal threats that can smell that. That bear that's still alive, that can now hear you, cooking sizzling beef that you planned on putting in some rice. So how do you get around that? Well, you get around that with ready-to-eat meals that don't need to be cooked, or they need to be warmed up, but they're being warmed up in some kind of immersion heater that came, like in an MRE, and you can't really smell. Does that stuff have smells? Yes, absolutely, but it's a little bit more cut down, and you can eat that stuff. Meals ready to eat means it's ready to eat. I mean, you can eat it cold. You don't have to heat it up, which would then, send out smoke signals of a smell that you're eating, okay? You eat it cold. Eating other food cold, eating food out of cans cold, your pre-made stuff that's already made, it's already cooked. Anything you pressure can, it's already cooked. If you pressure can meat, It's cooked. Is it not as good because you can't get it, warmed up, over a fire? Yeah, maybe you're in a situation or area you can do that, but you need to be extremely important because people are going to be super desperate, okay? Another thing is immersion heating, immersion cooking, where you're putting the food, it's already pre-cooked, whatever, you're putting it into a baggie, right? A gallon baggie, whatever, and you're just boiling it in the pot of water inside of that, right? And it's in the bag. And so everything you're cooking is sealed in the bag. Those smells, aromas is sealed in the bag. Even if you have something in a bag and you're just putting it out in the sun and just letting the sun warm it up, that again, it's in the bag. As it warms up, you're not going to be able to smell it as bad. Eating fresh stuff, right? Stuff that you're growing, you're eating your fruits, your vegetables, you're eating stuff that just simply doesn't need to be cooked, right? That's what you're eating, okay? You just have to be real careful and not be naive that like, oh, I'm just gonna cook something with no seasoning and it will be fine. The other thing is cooking bland foods, foods that really don't have a smell to them when you're cooking them, right? Rice, for example, doesn't have a huge smell, pasta. But again, I'm telling you, an animal is different. They're gonna be able to smell that. So you think, oh, it's just pasta. Maybe, yeah, a human can't smell you boiling some pasta a mile away, but a bear might. Okay. And so you need to think about what it is you're cooking. Again, you can cook inside, but don't be naive. Don't think that just because you're making, let's say, hamburgers, inside your home, you've got a nice little camp stove, you got lots of ventilation, and you're just going to cook it. Or maybe you're like, no, we're not going to have ventilation. I don't want these smokes and smells getting out, and I don't want nobody to smell this. And we're just going to fry this meat up inside. We're just going to take the chance, fry it up, and then when we're done, we can open it up. The thing is when you open it up, that smell gets out. The second thing is, have you ever been just even sitting outside and smelled somebody cooking something that was clearly they're making in their house? I'm not talking about barbecuing. I'm not talking about smoking something. I'm talking about they're making a super stew, or they're cooking some kind of hamburgers or meat, whatever it is they're cooking, and you're outside and you can smell that, and they're in their house cooking that. Okay. Could a window be open? Could something be open that's helping, facilitate that? Maybe. But oftentimes you smell that stuff. Our noses are very, very strong. And imagine if you're starving now, your nose is going to pick up on anything. Your body in general is going to react immediately to like, I smell food. I smell something, right? And now you want to investigate it and you want to see what's going on. And so you're going to be a target. And so the days of just cooking openly on the open fire, unless everybody and their mother is dead, right? It's an extinction level event. There's not enough people on the planet for it to matter. Then cool, cook all day outside, do your thing, cook with your community, whatever you're going to do. But you need to be careful because that stuff will bring a target, right? And it doesn't matter if you're by yourself. It doesn't matter if you're just your family, two families. It doesn't matter if you have a group, a community, same thing. That stuff is going to bring dangers. It's going to bring animals. It's going to think about feral dogs, feral cats. You just got to think about the desperation of, as time goes, it gets worse and worse. And more desperation, more death, more people literally starving. And what will they do to hopefully not be the one that starves? And preppers need to not be so in this sense of confidence, super confidence, as if nothing can happen to them. They'll be fine. They don't have to ration because this is what they prepared for. And then they find out 5 years down the road, this thing, whatever has happened, has not been corrected. And now they're out of food. When in reality, maybe they had 2 years worth of food. And that 2 years could have lasted 5 years or 10 years, literally, if they really thought about it. And that's why it's important too to do these other redundancies, right? The livestock, the growing food, having an indoor garden, an outdoor garden, having the ability to hide stuff and grow stuff in plain sight, and have animals in plain sight, and not in gray man, not letting everybody see everything under the sun. And how do you hide things on your property, right? How do you hide people from seeing stuff? How do you hide people from watching you from afar and seeing literally every movement you're making? Do you have barriers? Do you have different things so that when you're on your property, you're doing those chores, you're doing different things, you're feeding the animals, you have the animals? How are you hiding that the best way that you can from just anybody coming in and looking? And if you think that you're just going to get in a food line and just be fine, just to you know, blend in, that's not a good game plan either. So think about this. Think about your ration plans. Pull them out. Think about how you would half it, triple it, how you would specifically make it last longer and longer, years and years, and figure it out. And don't get overwhelmed. If you're like, I only have 6 months, like there's no way, if this is an extension level event, yeah, extension level event. So think longer. How do you live in a world with no power for forever? How do you live in a world forever that has no more grocery stores anymore, right? How would you get income? What skills do you have? What do you have to barter? What are you stockpiling? Yes, but what are you learning to do that's going to help you in the future, right? Think about these things that are happening, and then you're making the emergency plan to plan for these things. And some of this stuff I know is hardcore, and people are like, man, this is a little far-fetched, or I can't imagine it getting so bad, or just kill me, I don't even want to deal with it. And if that's your jam, that's the mentality you want to have, then baby, this is probably not the channel for you. And hey, if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. I'm a survival list, like in the sense of I want to do everything to survive, right? Until he comes back, the good Lord comes back for me and snatches me up and says, hey, come on, girl, it's time to go. We're leaving this joint. Let's bounce. Until that day comes, I'm about surviving, right? And I'm about my family surviving, and about them not dying, and about me not dying. Okay, that's what it's about. That's the game, is surviving until he comes back for us. So I don't know. I hope that you guys are doing good. I hope this wasn't too heavy. I know we have a lot of new subscribers. Thank you. God is good. You know, ask for, you know, hey, Lord, can I have, you know, a few more views on this video? And he blessed me. And so I've received that blessing, and I've received, you know, several hundred more subscribers in the last couple of days. And I am grateful for that. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for being here and supporting me. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. We also have a Patreon account where I talk about some other things that go a little bit deeper. I talk about some topics that I can't really discuss over here at all, just because of censorship. And of course, if you're new here, make sure you check out all the links in the description box below. We have antibiotic kits that you can get your hands on, different affiliates, seed affiliates, you know, gas mask affiliates, whatever it is that you're in the market for that you still need for your family, for your emergency planning, and your, you know, learning to live a self-sufficient life. Check out that stuff. Make sure you're using the code so that you get your discounts when you check out. I hope you guys stay well. I hope you stay happy and you're being productive. And I'll see you guys next time on the next video. Take care. Bye.